may be difficult for some people because they will know that you're being recorded.
I keep going in and out of Entebbe, in and out, in and out. I've never seen it. So until I see videos, I won't believe it. Let's go to the headlines.
The headlines brought to you by.
Now available in the new look on the Radiant Hair Relaxer with herbal extracts and no base formula. Radiant. Look good. Feel great.
How safe is the Workers' Fund? The Speaker sets up a select committee to investigate the National Social Security Fund.
Under Rule 190, I am referring this to a select committee, and we shall have very able people.
Reactions to the Speaker's decision on reports, experts say it is a leeway to corruption.
What rule is she basing on? There is none whatsoever. What she's doing is an illegality.
The 2021-2022 Auditor General's report is out. 18 billion lost to unqualified teachers.
Payments to ineligible teachers who had accessed the payroll using forged documents.
NRM at 37. Should the country still uphold the 1995 Constitution?
A large movement Constituent Assembly passed a partisan constitution.
The headlines brought to you by.
Now available in the new look on the Radiant Hair Relaxer with herbal extracts and no base formula. Radiant. Look good. Feel great.
A very good evening. Welcome to Live at 9 tonight. My name is Sheila Tsime, joined by Samson Kasumba. In our top story tonight, the Speaker of Parliament, Anita Among, has resolved to institute a select committee to investigate the alleged mismanagement at the National Social Security Fund. The Speaker will announce a 5-member committee on Monday next week, vowing not to allow the ongoing power fights at the NSSF that are affecting the operations of the fund. We have the details.
As early as summoned on Wednesday, both Minister of Gender Betty Amongi and her finance counterpart Madia Kasaija appeared in the House to present a detailed explanation concerning the alleged rot at NSSF. First was Gender Minister Betty Amongi, who assured the legislators that funds at NSSF are safe, insisting there is no need for workers to get worried about the safety of their money.
Members' funds are safe and protected.
The minister then explained why she has up to now refused to renew the contract of the former NSSF Managing Director Richard Byarugaba, saying he is under investigations for the alleged corruption scandals at the fund.
What was the basis of his leaving office?
One, both of them had reached 60 years, which is mandatory retirement age. I consulted public service. Public service indicated to me that we can only move and give them the 2 contract. The board sat and gave them a contract of 3 years and recommended to me first. Then later for 5 years.
And why did you go against the board's decision?
Right, Honorable Speaker, I indicated...
When you look at Section 18 of the Act, there shall be a managing director of the fund appointed by the minister on the recommendation of the board. And if the board made a recommendation, why didn't you appoint?
The minister was also tasked to explain why she requisitioned for the 6 billion shillings, yet she is not the accounting officer for the National Social Security Fund.
About the 6 billion and the work plan. It is not me. I only gave them strategic guidance only.
Parliament was, however, not convinced with the minister's explanation, which compelled the Speaker to consider instituting a select committee to investigate the alleged rot at the National Social Security Fund.
I am referring this to a select committee, and we shall have very able people who can never be compromised to handle this matter. I will announce the names of the 5 people on Monday.
The legislators welcomed the decision of the Speaker to institute a select committee to investigate the alleged mismanagement of the savers' funds.
Ideally, there is no way we could manage it on the floor of Parliament without a select committee investigating, calling witnesses.
And we think that many issues which are not apparent as we are listening to the report will come up as the select committee does its work. But there are a lot of issues at the NSSF from what I could see.
So, and I think, of course, there is little trust in the committee that is prepared, of course, to be selected by the Honourable Speaker of Parliament.
Let them try to be transparent. Let them not be used, because we all know some of us have fears after seeing some companies getting involved in the issues of NSSF. For example, Namunkekera.
Center around that document of 7th December, which the minister was refusing to lay on table.
So they have to stand, they have to be firm, and they give us a good, thorough report, a comprehensive one.
Alex Mugasha, Sam Ibanda Mugabi, NBS, Live at 9.
The Defence and Internal Affairs Committee found a hard time to convince the Budget Committee on the 6 trillion shilling budget, questioning allocations including Operation Shuja, recruitment of 23,000, among other operations, totaling to 961.9 billion. The MPs say any operation that has not been approved by Parliament ought not to be funded.
The Ministry of Defence budget, according to the committee, is projected to register a reduction of 198.58 billion shillings. However, there is a projected funding gap of fuel amounting to 49 billion shillings, uniforms amounting to 76.2 billion shillings, and food worth 149.6 billion shillings.
Is that sustainable as a defence strategy?
Among other key operations that government seeks to fund include Karamoja operation at 27.5 billion shillings and the East African Regional Forces that seeks 108.2 billion shillings. MPs, however, questioned the budget for programs like recruitment of the 23,000 soldiers, wondering why government keeps recruiting yet there is no war at hand. The legislators tasked the chair to explain whether a new army is being created.
Are you aware of an enemy that we don't know? Do you have sovereign threat that is so imminent that requires those numbers? For me, these are critical concern. I don't know. I saw the Minister of Defense before you justifying recruitment of soldiers. How many soldiers do we really need?
With the budget for purchase of patrols in a deficit of 75 billion, the MPs expressed worry over what they termed the personalization of police services like patrols, questioning why ministers have chosen to live flamboyant.
Police security provided to some of our colleagues in the cabinet and other areas. Is it a matter of security concern or flamboyancy?
Can we agree as a committee or as Parliament and say for at least 1 year or 2 years, can we freeze the issue of buying cars?
This also expressed disappointment in the move by the committee to recommend for funding of the Operation Shuja, yet this has never been okayed by Parliament. The MPs want the officer in charge of Shuja to come and explain their cause.
The Shuja in the front there, are you saying they should not be given any more money until the minister has come and given an explanation? It didn't come out well.
No, it's here. The committee for recommending no provision of funds toward such operation that took place without prior approval. It is clear.
Even His Excellency mentioned it on camera, that the challenges that they were going through that time were solved, and therefore the minister should come on the floor of Parliament and explain, which is okay.
Among other items queried by MPs is the 146 billion budget for food to the canine section of security. MPs questioned why items of a kind are prioritized other than increasing salaries for low-ranking officers.
You've talked about increment of salary of the men in high rank. Can you kindly think about the men in the lower rank?
Shamim Nabakoza, NBS, Live at 9.
The Auditor General's Office has instituted a government-wide payroll special audit after government lost 18 billion shillings in payments to ineligible teachers who used fake documents to access the payroll. This was announced by the Auditor General, John Mwanga, as he presented the audit report for the financial year 2021-2022 to the Speaker of Parliament.
Quite heavy. The Auditor General, John Mwanga, has presented the audit report
for the financial year 2021-2022 to the Speaker of Parliament, according to Article 163 of the Constitution. While giving the highlights of the report, the Assistant Auditor General, Stephen Katerega, said that during the follow-up on the payroll management in local governments, the government lost a lot of money due to payment of unqualified teachers. It is on this basis that the Auditor General's office has instituted a special audit for the government payroll.
These shortcomings included payments to ineligible teachers who had accessed the payroll using forged documents. These payments alone amounted to 18 billion, overpayments of salary, pension and gratuity, and also delays of up to about 12 months to access the payroll.
The report also indicates that although the government had put in place different initiatives to implement the parish development model, some local governments failed to utilize the funds, while others could not account for the money.
And 5, it was also observed that the funds amounting to 594 million in 5 local governments were not adequately accounted for. The office has planned to review the implementation of the program on an annual basis.
The Speaker, Anita Among, commended the Auditor General's office for completing their task on time, but lamented on the slow progress of Parliament on the reports.
That we have to produce the reports within the 6 months. As you've been watching on TV, we've been handling accountability reports and committees that have not been able to produce the reports in time. Of course, that is an indictment to the committee. We have some committees that play to the gallery, which is okay, because they are politicians.
Government only managed to implement 34.6% of its activities in the financial year 2021-2022, with 57.2% partially implemented and 8.2% not implemented at all. The total budget expenditure rose to 51 trillion shillings after government got a supplementary of 6 trillion shillings. Of these, only 48 trillion shillings was availed for spending, causing a 2.7 trillion shillings unfunded budget. Kanarim Gume, Jamila Mulinda Nwaha, NBS, Live at 9.
Moving on, civil society and policy analysts react to a decision of the Speaker to pass all reports without scrutiny, saying the corrupt will now walk scot-free. They say the Speaker erred not only in passing the decision without the Parliament's approval, but did not also take into account what the law says in the circumstances.
We are going to adopt all the reports.
The omnibus decision by the Speaker of Parliament, Anita Among, to pass the 111 reports, of which only 5 had undergone COSAS's scrutiny, has left sections of the public in shock and wondering which law was used to adopt the decision.
There's no rule that the Speaker relied upon to dismiss a committee report.
There is only one instance under the rules of procedure of Parliament under which a committee report can be queried in the House. And that is when there is a complaint submitted that it is not authentic. When that is done, the Speaker is required to refer the complaint and the report to the clerk.
Lawyer Wandera Ogalo says upon investigations by the clerk, the 2 reports are tabled before Parliament to decide.
The Speaker then at the end of it puts the question. That means asks, what is your decision, Parliament? The matter is debated by Parliament, and you say we have adopted. It is not a decision of the House. You must put the question.
Political and policy analysts say this short-circuit decision is not only wrong, but legalizes corruption.
Parliament is accountable to the citizens, and citizens have a right to know how the agencies of government are performing, and therefore hold the government, because this is taxpayers' money.
But now we're now seeing at another level of how corruption is being legalized, that we are not going to debate reports of the Auditor General. So it's going to be a bit more difficult now to fight the corrupt.
The Parliamentary Committee on Commissions, Statutory Authorities and State Enterprises, COSASE, was to investigate over 111 Auditor General reports. Only 5 had been investigated, and some, like the Uganda Airlines, were yet to be debated. The chairperson, COSASE, Joel Senyonyi, and his committee have been left speechless and redundant.
the thuggery, the misappropriation of funds, all of this the Speaker has decided to cover up for. I don't understand why. Even the other door she has decided to shut. Don't look into these other entities,
I don't see a reason as to why we can do omnibus when we have more than 500 members of parliament. Yet we could have created 10 members of parliament to look at each report, and in 10 days we would have finished those reports and present them to parliament.
They say this also raises questions on the performance of parliament and its leadership.
It's an indictment on the part of parliament, but also on her own part as the leader of parliament, because the speaker is the head of parliament, that they failed to execute their duties.
Parliament should have started sitting from morning up to night. I remember the Honorable Minister, Honorable Kadaga used to do that. Parliament would go in night until business is finished.
And I don't want to say shame on us, the House, but shame on you, Kosase. It is you people who have failed.
With no reports debated, the Accountant General will have nothing to put in the Treasury Memoranda, which highlights Parliament's decision on how far government has gone on implementing them. Where we are, the corrupt will walk free and we'll never know where the linkages in the systems are. Is this really what you want? Victoria Bagaya, NBS, Live at 9.
Thank you, Victoria. In other stories, the NRM-NRA revolution in 1986 overthrew a constitutional order and was deemed legitimate as leaders of the revolution claimed they moved within the will of the people. Close to a decade later, the population was asked to make their constitution the 1995 constitution, which was seen as a people's constitution. Years later, we question whether this constitution still stands as a people's constitution that was purported to be. Richard Olweny has been following the events and now reports.
The overthrow of the Milton Obote regime in 1986 by the National Resistance Army, NRA, ushered in a new era, but which was seen by some as an overthrow of the constitutional order. But these accessions were immediately justified by the regime, which reasoned that they had come to bring a fundamental change, the change the population waited to see.
It is not the law that has kept him in office this long, and which may likely keep him in office until he dies of old age. Rather, it is political maneuvering.
Ex-revolutionarist, now in the opposition, retired Kano Kizza Besigye, has a different reasoning.
So the NRM revolution of 1986, to my mind, was legitimate. Illegal, but legitimate.
Time moved so fast, and soon the delegates were elected to make the constitution. The first time the population was involved in determining the destiny of their country. The country was returning to the rule of law. But according to those who have keenly followed the regime from its inception to date, it's not only the overthrow of the Uganda People's Congress UPC government that has kept the National Resistance Movement, NRM, for a record 37 years, the longest-serving regime so far. This claim that the National Resistance Army rigged and influenced the elections of the Constituent Assembly delegates, meaning that there was interference in the constitutional making process from the start.
It's one of the areas that I tried to expose in 1999, which began the troubles over which I was to be court-martialed. One of them was the subversion of the constitution-making process. So it started, first of all, by delaying. Secondly, by rigging the elections. Mr. Museveni convened a group of some historical members to a secret meeting in his home, his village home, and they purported to go through the whole draft constitution and determine what the NRM wanted.
Before the constitutional making process was complete, there was a cabinet reshuffle that saw some CA delegates appointed cabinet ministers. It is believed that these pushed for a predetermined constitution that, according to lawyers, would favor the NRA-NRM's long stay.
The opposition was not allowed to influence the process. So you came out with a partisan, actually a movement constituent, a largely movement constituent assembly, okay, which passed a partisan constitution with the infamous Article 269, which extended the ban on political party activity.
Even the Prime Minister was appointed from the delegates, the Vice President appointed from the delegates, and then they started manipulating the delegates with promises of other appointments.
State political parties were put in abeyance, and the continuation of the national resistance movement system was allowed until a referendum was held.
To the learned friends, the 1995 constitution was then met with cracks that the national resistance movement under President Yoweri Museveni then used for all the subsequent amendments that kept itself in power, beginning with the Legislation of Political Parties and Organizations Act, lifting of term limits, lifting the age limit cap, and the Public Order Management Act, among others.
It becomes easy to remove term limits. It became easy to remove age limits. It became easy to pass restrictive laws on the media, restrictive laws on political party activity, and so forth.
The first crude method he did was to bribe members of parliament in 2005 to remove the term limit, because he was supposed to have handed over power.
NRM may have benefited from the progressive amendments that have happened, depending on the strategic placement and the way the members of the NRM have debated it. But it was not an objective that we do that to benefit NRM.
Close to 3 decades, the country has been left wondering whether they should continue to uphold this constitution or simply bring it down and start something new. Mildred Tuhaise, Richard Olwen, NBS, Live at 9.
The Uganda football community is elated after the return of the telecommunications giants MTN as a main sponsor of the national senior men's football team. The Cranes, the Federation of Uganda Football Association, FUFA, and MTN unveiled the multi-billion partnership last night during a watch party held at Serena Hotel in Kampala.
MTN Uganda is back with the Uganda Cranes, and MTN Uganda...
Ugandan sport is in awe after landing its biggest private sponsorship in history. Telecommunications giants MTN unveiled a 5-year, 19 billion sponsorship deal for 7 FUFA properties, including the senior men's national team, the Uganda Cranes, the women's national team, the Crested Cranes, the FUFA Drum, the FUFA Juniors League, the FUFA Super 8, the FUFA Super Cup, and the FUFA Awards. The deal that was announced by MTN Chief Executive Officer Sylvia Mulinge in the company of FUFA President Moses Magogo and MTN Chief Marketing Officer Somdev Sen is one that is expected to change the face of Ugandan football.
For us today, we have announced a 19 billion sponsorship over the next 5 years, which not only covers the national team, the Ugandan Cranes, but also covers even the Crested Cranes, the women's team, as well as other 5 programs under FUFA, which we had announced earlier. And this just shows the passion that we have around the sport, and also the fact that we are not only just interested in just supporting for today, but also making sure that Uganda not only has a great chance in winning the current African Cup that they're playing in, but also getting a very strong chance of getting into the World Cup in 2026.
We know how it pulls the fans to come to the stadium, and also now with our current technology, be able to reach the fans wherever they are. Via the internet, via the mobile phones. We believe that we'll take football to everybody where they are,
Magogo adds that they have high expectations in the return of MTN, especially restoring the vibe around the national team.
I think excitement and engagement with the fans is very important. I think that's an area we have not done well in the recent past, engaging the fans. Fans love their teams irrespective of the results, irrespective. We are Ugandans, we're not going to be something else. But I think that's where